I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Walk-Ons Bistro and Bar, the original Walk-Ons corner of Burbank and Nicholson. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Max Gotro. Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. Jimmy Ott's on vacation this week and next. Michael Cauble from WBRZ Channel 2. Going to be with us here during today's show. He was down at Saints Camp yesterday, and here just right off the campus of LSU. Of course, we're watching some of the work being done across the street, Max. At what a long time ago was the golf course, but they're working on parking. It's always something that's on everybody's mind. What's the parking? They've been working on this for a minute now.
Yeah, I've seen them out there. I don't exactly know what they're doing. I don't know if they're paving some more stuff out there.
Hey, I got them to pave Nicholson Drive. I did what I could.
You did.
Right?
They're working on Nicholson right now. They've been working on repaving it. I guess they got to fix some things there. But hey, whatever it takes. As long as they're ready by football season, they're not doing this throughout football season as they sometimes like to do, then we'll be good to go for football season.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Somebody just sent this to me. I mean, not that everybody can't count it. 37 days to the opener, which means we're 28 days from something. 30 days from – no, that's not right either. We're 37 days from the opener, 4 weeks from Saturday. So, yeah, 30 days, I guess.
I can smell it almost. I mean, it's right around the corner. I can feel the tailgates, brewing. It's right there. Unfortunately, the telltale sign that football season is here, unfortunately, is you start hearing NFL injuries happening in the first day of camp, and we saw one with Justin Fields today.
They don't think it's too bad. Somebody stepped on his toe.
Right, so hopefully he's fine. But, yeah, you start hearing those things, and that's when you know it's football season. But, I mean, we had Brian Kelly talk with the Rotary Club, speak to the Rotary yesterday.
All right, that happened while we were doing it. So you had a chance to listen to it. I had a chance to listen to it. What did you think?
I just can't. I can't avoid the fact that they are quadrupling down on how important this Clemson game is. They have put all their chips in that basket, and look, I'm not as concerned as you are about the hangover. I'm sort of in the vibe of you win the first game, that'll carry you through a lot. The La Tech game is not one that they could probably sleepwalk through that. No disrespect to them, but they could probably sleepwalk through that game a little bit. I always, think, if you're on the golf course, you see a putt go in early, you're going to putt pretty well the rest of the day. So I think that's the case with winning a Clemson game. I worry about the consequences if they lose. If they're going all in and a game in which they're a 3-point underdog on the road, they've gone all in on this. How do you reset? How is that even possible if you've gone so far in on the first game of the season?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of my deal too. It's not that I think that they're going to lose to Louisiana Tech the following week in Tiger Stadium. It's just when you put that much emphasis on one game, sometimes this may not make any difference, but sometimes it makes it hard when you put that emphasis on one game to make sure that the emphasis is there for all the other games. That's basically it. Now, I thought back in 2011, this can be a big springboard too. We tend to look at this stuff from the negative side, but this can be a big springboard too. I brought up the 2011 season a lot. I'll be honest with you. I thought they were nuts for scheduling that game with Oregon in 2011 because we knew they had a good team. We thought that, and then the whole Shady's thing happened, but that was well after they had scheduled the game. That they're essentially putting their whole season on the line in week one. Now, back then, the format was a lot different than it is now, so I don't feel that way. But it's like, man, they spent the whole summer simulating Oregon stuff, and it worked. It got them in great shape, and then they go out there. But when they blew the doors off of Oregon, and it was like, all right, settle in. So we could look at it from the positive standpoint, too.
Sure.
They go into Clemson and make a statement win. Well, then all of a sudden, I think the outside perceptions will change drastically for LSU.
The pressure is going to be there regardless, and they're maybe upping that a little bit. I tend to think there is a path for them to maybe make the playoff even if they don't win the game, because I think Clemson is really, really good. I think they could be the very best team they play on the regular season schedule. Certainly their defense is up there with the best of them. But I just don't know how this relates to the previous losses in the openers. Do you think it's just been a lack of motivation for the first game, a lack of focus on the first game? I don't think so. So I don't know why they have to totally revolutionize the way that they approach this first game, because I would say they maybe lacked a little bit of the preparation, but I don't think it was specifically because they weren't focused on the first game enough. This is a totally different way of going about it.
I think the 4 games that they've lost in a row, or 4 of the games that they've lost in a row, that hasn't been the case. I would say that the Mississippi State game that they lost, they were a mess in the secondary. Okay, they gave up 500 whatever yards. Stingley was out of that game. He didn't go out of that game. He had an episode on, I think it was Friday night, right before the game. They had walk-ons out there, basically, in the secondary. Mississippi State carved them up. I thought the UCLA game, they were out to lunch. Be it some of the COVID restrictions still in there, the trip to California, whatever. I thought they played completely space cadet at UCLA. The 2 games with Florida State, the first one, I thought that they were really feeling their way. The first game under Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels' first game, the center had a problem in that game. And Malik Neighbors, who we're watching, just crush it right now. I was looking at some training camp stuff of him this morning. He's absolutely crushing it, but in that game, he fumbled 2 key plays. And so that – hey, look,
maybe you go for 2 and we look at this totally different.
The next year, when they lost to Florida State again, I thought Florida State was just better than them.
Got beat.
They were 13-0 that year in the regular seasons. I just thought they were better. And last year, I didn't think that they were unfocused. I thought they came out in pretty good shape. I just thought that there were some key moments in the game where they did not perform, whether it was a key penalty or a missed conversion or whatever. I thought they were focused in. I just thought USC got the better of them because they made plays when they had to and LSU didn't. So of the 5, I would tell you that there was one where I didn't think they were focused at all, and that was the UCLA game. The other ones?
Yeah, I agree. I thought they just got beat against in the second Florida State game. Last year, I thought the coordinators, specifically offensively in the second half, I remember having a problem with how much they ran on early downs. And that's sort of the one thing that I think is going under the radar with this LSU team. It's not just that Nussmeier is coming back. Obviously, that's huge. It's not just the transfers you got it coming in, but you've got similar coaching staff. You've got familiarity with your 2 coordinators. That's different than you did have last year. And so you're not going to have an offensive coordinator kind of learning on the job on how to maintain a second half somewhat lead or close game. It was tied, I think, at the half against USC. But you're not learning on the job there. I think they're going to be a lot more comfortable. You can't tell me that Mike Denbrock's first year with Jaden Daniels was anywhere close to what he did in his second year with Jaden Daniels. So at least that part is also similar to what it was when they've had success in those two quarterback returning seasons.
All right, so I had a few more things that I want to get to, but I'll push them till later in the show because this news just came across right before we went on the air, and it's sports, I guess, if you will, sports entertainment. The biggest wrestling personality ever, and I know way more about professional wrestling than I probably should, but the biggest, without question, whether you loved him or hated him, is Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan died this morning at his home at the age of 71 after what is apparently being reported as a cardiac arrest. I've told wrestling stories here and there. I grew up with local wrestling, or what they call territory wrestling. And when I was growing up, my grandfather was a big fan. He moonlighted as security guard at the wrestling matches sometimes. I've mentioned this a few times. Ernie Ladd, who's one of the great wrestling legends, retired in my hometown of Franklin. He was a little bit of a presence in the community when I was in high school. He came to speak at the high school. He was around, and Ladd was in addition to being a great football player, was one of the real legends. So I knew a little bit about. From watching him, and he had talked to the football team. He talked to the whole athletic department at one point. And I'm certainly aware of the history of Gorgeous George and Lou Thez and Ric Flair, and you can go on. Hulk Hogan put professional wrestling in a stratosphere that it had never been in before. We talk about what Tiger Woods did for golf, what Caitlin Clark is doing for the WNBA. Took it from a niche and put it into the mainstream in a way it had never been before. And I'm not saying there was no golf before Woods or no basketball before Clark, or certainly there was plenty of professional wrestling before Hulk Hogan. But he put it into the mainstream. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It was him that when Vince...
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Vince McMahon took WWF and brought it national and bought up the big talent from all of the territories. It was seen as a breathtakingly risky move when he did it, but he went and got all of the top stars from all of the territories around who were independently owned, and that meant that he came down to the South and got the Junkyard Dog, and he got Roddy Piper, and he got Hogan was Jesse Ventura, King Kong Bundy, and his big attraction was, of course, Andre the Giant at the time. But even the Giant didn't take it. He didn't have that charisma that Hogan had. When they put Hogan in the driver's seat, everybody made more money. And one of the things about wrestling is back then they adhered very strictly to a code called kayfabe. And kayfabe basically means, if you know nothing about wrestling, is you pretend it's real. Okay, in the ring, out the ring, everywhere. There are promoters that would not let their talent be seen if they were feuding outside of the ring under any circumstances, and they were fiercely loyal to that code. Okay, until they weren't, until they got sued, and WWE had to come clean, this is a show. This is not an actual athletic competition. This is scripted. And that pulled the curtain back. And now you hear all of the stories about how they did it. It's like a magician revealing all of his tricks. Every one of them, and a lot of them loved Hogan, but way more of them hated him in the industry, because he was the undisputed star for the better part of 2 decades. Hogan meant box office. Hogan could put 100,000 people for WrestleMania when he did the thing with Andre the Giant. He would eventually transcend out into movies and all that other stuff, and that's fairly common now. But Hogan was one of the first ones to do that. And after wrestling was always was kind of a side gig in his later years. But I mean, hell, Trump had him at the convention giving a speech. He was always kind of somewhere. And like I said, whether you loved him or hated him, he put asses in the seats. And it's not a loss today for current wrestling, because he hasn't been involved in anything big. I think he was at the last WrestleMania in New Orleans. But you cannot deny, like I said, love him or hate him, the impact that he had on the industry. And it seems like, Max, we're doing a lot of obits. I mean, just this week, it's Hogan, it's Ozzy Osbourne, it's Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played. I mean, man, if you grew up in the 80s, this has been a rough week. And I grew up in the 80s. I mean, Malcolm Jamal was Theo Huxtable. The Cosby Show was the #1 show. Ozzy Osbourne was the #1 metal rocker back then. I mean, and Hogan was the king of wrestling back then. No question about it. So if like I said, if you're somewhere in the vicinity of my age and you grew up in the 80s, these were people you saw on your TV every week, or you listened to on the radio, or with cassette tapes, Max. We ditched the 8-track tapes by that time. So obviously Hogan had I'm not going to go through his entire resume. It would take forever. Obviously he ran into some legal problems down the line, and with his marriage and all that stuff. But his impact on the sport, if you want to call it, or the performance of professional wrestling, has no peer. And he is passed away at the age of 71. We're here at Walk-Ons, the original Walk-Ons, where it all started. Remember doing the first pre- and post-game shows from here in year 1. Right now, what they got going on is, and this is at every Walk-Ons, fantasy football deals. We're getting closer to where fantasy football drafts are going to be happening throughout the month of August. Reserve one of the private rooms here with specials that are attached to it at any of the participating walk-ons. They're also starting to take orders for tailgating trays. Don't wait. Believe me, if you wait until just a couple of days before some of the big games that are coming to Tiger Stadium, you might get yourself in a little bind. So order early. Make sure that your tailgating packages are available. The home opener against Louisiana Tech, Florida in the week after that. Get your tailgating tray options in here at Walk-Ons. Great place to watch the games. We'll be doing preseason football starting next week. And, of course, for your game day, always something happening at Walk-Ons. Great place to watch all the other games. Not a place that you can stand or sit here where you're not having access to multiple TVs. Live at the original Walk-Ons. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Does your homeowners association require wood windows that either face the street or overall, you name it, facing the golf course, whatever it is, you need to call my friends over at Relief Windows, because when you dealing with sort of construction, whether it's new construction or existing and remodeling and things like that, the builder wants things that are going to last. The architect wants things that are going to look good. We want things that are going to look good, they're functional, and they last, and that's what you get with the R-Last wood windows, gelled wind windows that come with a 20-year general warranty and lifetime limits warranty against rotten termites, providing you years of good-looking windows and minimal maintenance. That's what you get when you call Relief Windows. 288-8138. Yes, it's not Del Mar weather over here in South Louisiana. From the heat right now to the Cajun blizzard that we had this past winter. 288-8138 and ReliefWindows.com.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. Jimmy on vacation, but joined by WBRZ's Michael Cauble. Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing great.
You were down at Saints Camp yesterday. I want to get to that, but you came in here posing. You're you're another child of the WWF days, WWE days. You a Hulk Hogan fan?
Absolutely. I mean, how could you not be, right? I was a Jimmy Superfly Snuka fan.
Yeah.
Like, he was my top guy. I just loved his style and the jumping and stuff. But no, I loved Hulk Hogan. Saw him when I lived in D.C. That was back when it was like, who could you slam? And you talked about it earlier, trying to slam Andre the Giant. But when I went, it was Hulk against Big John Studd, and it was like they were trying to slam Big John Studd, and so that was like a big deal at the time. But love Hulk Hogan, man. Gonna miss him. Watch the cartoon. Obviously had those like bendy, those hard rubber figures of the Hulk Hogan All Stars. So like it was a big deal for sure.
There's so many wrestling fans that are our age that grew up watching. I'm going to call it local, Mid-South wrestling or Georgia Championship Wrestling when that came on. That was one of when cable television came to be, there were two things you count on from WTBS, the Atlanta Braves and Georgia Championship Wrestling. They were the only things they could draw any ratings with. They were running reruns of the Beverly Hillbillies from 15 years before. But you could watch Championship Wrestling.
So it's funny, I lived in D.C. at that time, right? And my grandma and grandpa lived in Shreveport, so we would come home and watch the Braves all night, right? But then you'd also see like what I would consider this off-brand wrestling, like this low-budget wrestling, because I was used to the WWF
territorial,
wrestling. Yes, territory. And so like I was like, who are these guys, And then you see like how raw it would get and stuff, and it's like, holy crap, this is really real. I remember you were talking about that lawsuit. I don't remember that, but I remember vividly sitting in my grandmother's living room and my parents telling me that wrestling was fake, and I'm like, nah, man, I don't believe you. No way. Like I don't believe you. It was like, and then like the realization kind of starts to set in, and like you're just crushed. So that was probably 9 years old, I guess, 9-year-old Michael.
Well, and it is choreographed, okay? But they really fall, okay? I mean, they pull the punches, they pull the kicks, but they really fall, 8 feet.
They really cut themselves with razor blades.
They really cut themselves with razor blades. They really do take a lot of bumps. I mean, it's physical. Just the number. You named about 8 or 9 guys when you come up here. I asked you if you were a wrestling fan, and you named about 8 or 9 guys from the 80s. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Everybody you named to me, they're all dead.
We're getting old, Charlie.
It's somewhat. Look,
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hogan was 71, which is
not terribly old.
No, but
you think of the lifestyle.
It's dog years for a lot of these guys. I mean,
it's not the years; it's the mileage.
The steroid abuse, the constant travel, the
uppers, the downers.
The alcohol, the drugs. So, man, a lot of them. Okay, didn't plan to have that story today.
We can do that all day if you want. We keep going.
I could literally, but my grandfather was a wrestling fan, so I became a wrestling fan. Once I got out of high school, not really anymore. I mean, I watched a little bit, but not. And now I don't watch it at all. I haven't watched in probably 30 years. But back then, it was a big deal.
You obviously remember Glenn Dorsey. Glenn Dorsey, whenever he would make a sack or a tackle for loss, whatever, he would kind of do like that bushwhackers walk afterwards when he'd walk back to the line, whatever. And I always wanted an LSU football player to do the Hulk Hogan, like scoop the noise and like give it to me in the ear, kind of thing, out at midfield. I always thought that would be like the best pre-game deal for Tiger Stadium, because you know how loud it gets, and like kind of like the Who Dat chant, you could just have a guy out there. I never understood why like one player never really like latched onto that and like really got it going. That was always like my dream for an LSU football player to do it at midfield.
You had to have when Les was here. you had to have a lot of moxie to do that, because I remember when Patrick Peterson did the Heisman thing, they jumped his butt pretty good for that.
But to me, that's more of like a let's all go kind of thing instead of a look at me kind of deal. But I always wondered what that would be like if somebody did that, just because, you loved Hulk, you loved like the Real American Hero, the eat your vitamins, say your prayers, like the whole nine. I ate it up as a kid. And you talk about a pop. When you heard that song come on and you knew who was coming down the aisle, like
crazy. And then he turned bad guy.
Yeah,
I wasn't watching by that point, but I know what happened.
I'm like you. I gave up at that point. NWO was not in my wheelhouse.
I had been out of it for a while before that, but I understand the business. You go from hero to villain, and everybody gets all upset, and they buy tickets, okay? You get heat, you buy tickets. You were down at Saints camp yesterday, speaking of heat.
I was, yeah.
Although it wasn't as bad.
Oh, my God, it was so
right?
nice yesterday, Charlie. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where I was. There was cloud cover for the whole thing. It was like the quickest practice I've probably ever been
68 minutes.
Yeah, didn't see a whole lot. Tyler Shuck really likes to pump the ball. Didn't see a lot of completed passes from him. Saw a lot of scrambles, after second, third options weren't there. But you can sense a rebirth, if you will, like a rebuild, a rebrand, however you want to call it. There's definitely work to be done. But the thing that I took away from and of course we talked to the vets, and so you're probably going to get some of this, they think that they can still contend. Now, I don't think contend in a championship way, but I think they feel like they have a better team than any of us do, certainly.
They have to. If you're DeMario Davis or if you're Cam Jordan, at this point, even a guy like Eric McCoy, who's younger than those two but is still a vet on this team, you have to feel like your opportunity is here if this quarterback is really good, if this coach is really good. The division has a clear favorite, but they don't have a clear favorite that is considered one of the top half dozen teams in the NFL. Tampa is the favorite in the division, and they should be. But I don't think anybody puts them in the class of the Eagles in the NFC, or I don't put them in the same class as the Lions, even though that game was so very close last year. You get mixed opinions on if Washington can duplicate that big run from a year ago. But I don't think and then you got the Rams. I don't think anybody's got Tampa in their top three in the NFC. So there is a possibility that you can make a run at the division. I don't think that, but I think that's what the veterans saying. I hope the veterans think that.
Well, I think to some degree, too, it's also carrying the banner. These are guys that are the face of the franchise. But the one that kind of surprised me was Alvin Kamara. He even said, like, we've got some players, they know how to play. And he's usually been a pretty straight shooter. So I was a little surprised to hear that, but maybe not all that surprised. They have to set the tone, right? There's not a lot of leadership on that team other than the really aged veterans. And obviously that's a roster issue as well, but they have to set the tone and they have to get everybody believing, like you said, especially for those guys near the end of their career. Kellen Moore's an interesting dude, though, man. I'll tell you that. He's very mercurial. Like you can feel like the wheels are spinning all the time. I was telling Bree Andrews, girl that I work with, I've gone to I went to OTAs and I went to the first day of training camp. And typically, I'm not – that's the only 2 times I've been there this year. So, like, I'm not down at Saints camp a lot. But, like, you could tell when I was asking him questions, he was sizing me up, like, who is this guy? Where is he from? Like, I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen him before. Yeah. So, like, there's just a lot of attention to detail there, and certainly that's going to transfer over. The guys are already talking about the efficiency with which he operates. And those are things that they like, obviously, as NFL players.
I'm impressed so far with what he's done as far as the this offseason has been – I'm going to give him some credit. Maybe I should give Loomis some credit. I'm loath to do that. But at least from – and maybe it was forced upon him, but I see a franchise that is in the process of a makeover, a rebuild. They hate that word down there, but that's what it is, okay? Yeah. New coach, new quarterback, lots of new players, not a big, foray into free agency. Again, a lot of this has been, I think, forced on Loomis. He didn't want Derek Carr to retire, but he did. He didn't want to fire Dennis Allen, but they made him. he didn't want Tyrann Mathieu to retire. He didn't want Taysom Hill to get hurt. He would have probably rather been a little bit more active in free agency, but who the hell wants to come here unless you overpay him at this point? I don't know if he tried to trade draft choices and just couldn't, or if they decided not to, but for whatever reason, all the draft choices are in camp. They're doing what you're supposed to do now, finally, even if they're being, you'll eat your vegetables if there's no other food, right? So that's kind of where I see them. But yesterday, and this is going to be key if you're a franchise from New Orleans these days, who was off the field yesterday?
Who was off the field?
Off the field yesterday. Who missed it because of injury?
Taysom.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Foster Moreau.
Foster Moreau.
Yeah.
Two guys, okay? It means Chris Olave's out there. It means Alvin Kamara's out there. Kendre Miller was even out there. They should have declared a holiday. He actually made it to practice. Cesar Ruiz was there. Your entire defensive line was there. All of your linebackers were there. All of your corners were there. Listen, there's some competitions to be had on this team. If they actually keep the majority of the top 53 healthy, that's going to give them a much better chance. Not a great chance, but a much better chance. I mean, the Saints, the whole building, the whole campus, Saints/Pelicans, has been under, it's like Marie Laveau is sitting on the roof,
Yeah. When I think of the Saints, I think of like the guys' names that and you've known them unfortunately for like 10 plus years, right? And then I think of like the old Skip Bertman thing that he used to do about the umpires. It's not their fault. See, he's a plumber, he's a banker, and like that's what I think about the rest of their roster. Like, who the hell are these guys? Like they're making ham sandwiches, during the daytime, and then they go play football at night. So it's like. I certainly feel like there is a lot, like you said, of competition. There's a lot to be learned about this team. I just don't know if they have those upper echelon guys or those difference makers, I guess. And I think the difference makers that they have were difference makers 8 years ago. And how much can they still do it?
This is what I'd like to see out of the season. You can tell me what your expectations are. My hope is I have no illusions about a winning record or the playoffs or anything like that. My hope is that thumbs up or thumbs down, they come away with a clear understanding of what the quarterback position is. If Shook can play, fantastic. If Rattler emerges in his second year, wonderful. But if they can't play, I'd like to know. The last thing I want to see is Shook play 3 games and then get benched or get hurt or something like that.
Or the Rattler play 3 games and then Shook play 3 games, a little back and forth.
Right. I don't. Give me a clear understanding.
Have a plan. That's all we're asking for.
Give me a clear understanding of the quarterback position. I want to see clean game execution from the coaching staff. I don't want to see the things like I saw in Denver, where the clock is running out and they're going around. Wait, we were supposed to get a play. I don't want to have to bring in a clock coach or something. So give me clean game execution. I'd like to see a couple of guys that I'm not expecting right now, either out of the draft class or somebody from a previous draft class that that pops all of a sudden. It's like, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's Quincy Riley, the 4th round defensive back. Maybe it's Trevor Penning. It's like, wait a minute, this guy couldn't play tackle to save his life, but he's not a bad guard. Give me a couple of surprises. Find me a couple of guys that can play on the cheap, preferably, that I didn't know about. You do those things and you get to whatever your record is and you're ready for next year, then then you can wash some of these older contracts off the books. That's my hope for this season.
To your point, what I would like to see is just the idea that there is a plan in place. Like, if the quarterback doesn't work out, then they're understanding that they're drafting a quarterback in the next draft, and they're working towards such. Like, let's not be the Pelicans where we're just going through the motions every day and trying to win.
You just wait till they get healthy.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You just wait.
When their roster's ready, we're going to be something to watch out.
We're here at the original Walk-Ons, Burbank and Nicholson. We'll get Michael's thoughts about the beginning of LSU camp, which is a week from today. We'll do that when we come back here live at the original Walk-Ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yes, indeed. Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive on Segan Lane. Segan and Perkins, between Perkins and I-10, right across from Ambrosia Bakery. So whatever, your engine light comes on, bring it on in. Belts, hoses, wheels, tires, general services like AC repair, AC service, undercar services, transmission work, electrical work, electronic whatever you need on your vehicle, bring it to Jason Payne, because what you want in a mechanic, his auto maintenance work, is a fair deal. You've heard the horror stories of getting upcharged for unnecessary work. Not the case at K&M Automotive. 8445 Segan Lane, Segan but Perkins, across from Ambrosia Bakery. We're open 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Tell Jason you heard me talking about it right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. It's the only place I take my vehicle, K&M Automotive on Segan Lane.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Michael Cauble from WBRZ Channel 2 hanging out with us here in the first part of the show. Michael, the Rotary yesterday kind of signifies the end of talking season, and camp is upon us next week. So give me your thoughts. We've been through media days, and we got a pretty good idea of what Brian Kelly's MO is here going in. What are your initial thoughts before they start camp?
I'm just surprised at how bullish he is on this team, to use his word. I mean, he used bullish like 7 times at media days, and yesterday at Rotary, you would have thought he was in the WWF, you know, the way he was hyping everybody up. So, yeah, I'm just kind of surprised that he's talking as much talk as he is. It makes me wonder whether they know something we don't, or whether they are just kind of masking it and really trying to get everybody to buy in and get this thing moving forward. I heard you and Max talking earlier in the show about it, and I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be a tough challenge right out of the gate. I actually don't expect them to win that game. I think there's just too many pieces that they have to still prove, you know, or functioning pieces for them to be up and running in a situation like that against a team like that in a location like that.
If you just look at a preliminary depth chart, whether it's the one you've got in your head or any of the preseason mags, you're looking at somewhere around 6 to 8 new starters that were not in the program last year. Forget about it. It's more starters than that, but we're in a different program last year. That's a lot of continuity that you got to put together. And I know they had most of these guys here in the spring, but that's a lot of continuity that you got to get in place in a really short period of time.
You're talking about 50% of each side of the ball expected to step in and contribute right away. And I'm sorry, I don't have any basis of history to believe that is how it actually works, especially early in the season. Charlie, I'm not saying this team can't be good at the end of the season, but again, we have these expectations of what they are, and we do this every single year. Every year I've lived here, we do this, right? We drink the Kool-Aid, we buy the hype, you know, whatever it is, and we think that the team they are at the beginning of the year is the team that we all think they're going to be at the end of the year, and it's just not that way. They have to figure things out. And I think back to last year, how much, and obviously Chris's injury was a different situation, but how much Brian continued to talk about Chris Hilton, and even if he comes back, you know, he's going to have to work his way back from injury. I'm looking at Harold Perkins, and I'm looking at Whit Weeks, and I'm looking at a pair of knees, and everybody's just taking it for gospel. These guys are going to come back and be the players they were previously. And that's not even talking about the offensive line, which, you know, again, last year with as much returning production as they had, I thought underperformed. This year, as you said, so many new pieces expected to perform. It's just a really big question mark for me.
Okay, all of those are legitimate questions. Let me ask you this: Clemson comes out for the first play of the game from scrimmage, and they run 3 wides and a tight end. So LSU's going to have 5 defensive backs on the field. Who are those defensive backs, and where are they playing?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think one of them's going to be a true freshman. You know, one of them.
If you think Pickett's going to start the first play of the first game of the opener, and he very well may.
In that situation, I think he'd probably have to. I just feel like, again, to your point, there are so many new names and players. You know, is Jordan Gilbert going to be healthy enough? How much is that arm going to make the difference? I mean, we saw what a limitation it was last year. So how much of that is going to be a positive this year? I just there's so much unknown, Charlie, and here's the other thing, dude. Like, we were in week 4 last year, and Brian Kelly was talking about they were figuring out their personnel. Mm-hmm. And he said it in a press conference, and because I was thinking it, he's like, you guys are probably wondering what the hell are they doing in fall camp. And I was like, I wanted to raise my hand. I was like, You're darn right I was. Like, what are you doing? I understand you have a new defensive coordinator, But come on, man. Like you got 30 dudes in that building that are working round the clock looking at stuff, and you've had 4 weeks of prep, and now we're 4 weeks into the season, and we're still trying to figure out who can do what.
Yeah, that's the challenge of mixing all this stuff together. And I brought up the defensive backs because everybody brings up the offensive line. But you brought up Jordan Gilbert, okay? They brought 3 guys in the transfer portal because Gilbert had a poor year last year.
Yeah, he played with one arm.
And
he was the best they had? That's the part I don't understand.
So if he's healthy and he can, play great, then wonderful. But they brought in A.J. Halsey to play. They brought in Tamarcus Cooley to play. They brought in Mansour Delane to play, who may end up, probably playing corner, I think. But that's 3 other safeties, and that's before you get to Spears, who I think has a world of potential. No, they brought people in because the safeties were bad last year. They may have been bad because of injuries, but they were bad last year.
And the thing that Brian Kelly has said this offseason is that they are better equipped to do that this year because of the culture. And I'm thinking to myself, what has changed that much? What has changed that much? Have you just got a better handle on how to disperse the money and, guys feel better about their situations now? But, literally, what is all that different when you're losing, I guess, what I consider some pretty good veteran leadership from last year's team, and now you're going in and buying your roster?
Yeah.
It's like a total philosophy switch in 1 year from BK, and it's because everything's better. The culture in the building's better. I don't know, Charlie.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not around it, but it's easy to be skeptical these days.
I can't speak to the culture. What I can't, and I'll use the word bullish because we did a couple of podcasts when the transfer portal kind of came for the most part to an end in February. They added a couple guys after that, but that was the big part of it. And I was sitting there talking to Richard Dixon. I was like, "Geez, Louise, how much talent are they bringing in here?" I mean, a lot of these are proven guys at big-time programs. They're not going to lack for talent. When you really look at this roster, that's why, to me, I've said this a bunch of times over the summer, this is all on Brian Kelly. If this goes south, it's on you, boss, okay? I mean, short of Nussmeier getting hurt, okay? These are all your recruits. These are all decisions you made in the transfer portal. You went and raised enough money. I mean, you went pretty much door to door in December to make sure you had enough money, so that's done. You don't have the situation you had a year ago where it's like, well, I don't want to buy these guys because it's going to make waves in my locker room. No, you brought all this in. All these guys, he said it multiple times, these guys came in here to win a championship. So it's on you to, you got all the ingredients. Now you got to cook the gumbo.
Yeah.
It's on him. Nobody's going to – they come out of the chute 2-2 or something like that. They're not going to blame any of the players. They're going to blame him,
and they should.
And I'll probably be at the head of it.
Absolutely,
okay?
They should.
This is your job to make sure all of this works.
This is what you do. If you want to be the CEO style head coach, then you better be able to run the business. I was thinking, as you said, the gumbo thing. I said the roux better be dark and good. It's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting, and I think that is one of the biggest issues for Brian Kelly this year is maintaining that positivity around the program, because I think there are a lot of people that are on the fence ready to jump. They're just waiting for that extra ammunition to really throw in the towel. So,
you think so?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. Do you know? I don't know. I have a lot of people that tell me they don't like him. Oh, and that's when he's having moderate success. So, I think that there's. Yeah.
You're probably right, but I made my peace with that. Whenever they say, what, it's the hot seat or is this a transitional? Yeah, look, man, it's an important year. It's important because they spent plenty of money and they put the things in place. But I don't think Brian Kelly's in danger of losing his job, no matter what their record is.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's in danger of losing.
So if you're a fan, you say, well, if they win it, I'm done with him. Well, then you may be writing off 26 at that point, because I'm as certain as I can be he's going to be the coach next year too, regardless of what happens. Yeah,
we agree on that. I just feel that from conversations that I've had with just average people, I don't know about Brian Kelly. I get that a lot.
And that's fair. I hear some of that too. We're live here at the original Walk-Ons, calling for your tailgating trays, and as you're getting ready for fantasy football drafts, great place. All the Walk-Ons have special room assignments and drink and eat specials for your fantasy football drafts. Get those ready as we're heading into August. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. Our great team at United Community Bank, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Prentice Wilkes, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you're a partner. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Michael Cauble from WBRZ sitting in with us for a few more minutes. Mike, what's going on? This is where the staff gets stretched. You know, Southern Camp, LSU Camp, Saints Camp, high school camp. I got a lot going on, right?
The whole deal going on, yeah. So right now we're still doing our high school football previews. Those are a great, fill for the summer, but start LSU camp next week. Southern started earlier this week, so we got that rolling, and, of course, the Saints again. So we're just trying to get as much in as possible and really this is one of the things I was going to say, Charlie, and I caught Matt and Jake yesterday on the way down to Saints camp. I love Hunt Show. I love you and Jimmy. Obviously love Matthew, and even Matthew Musso. How about that? But, I hope people that listen understand that it's not like this everywhere. I'm not saying we're the best in media, right? But Baton Rouge has local sports, and pretty much everybody does local sports. Channel 9, Channel 33, us. Like, that's not the way it is in every city or town. You're getting a lot of Houston Astros highlights these days in other Louisiana cities. Yeah. So, like, I just hope people appreciate the job that everybody does. And we know that, they do from the feedback that we get.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it always, man. We'll take a break, come back. Colucci with us when we return here at the original Walk-Ons, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And a return here at the original Walk-Ons Burbank and Nicholson. Right now, a few things going on as we inch closer towards football season. Fantasy football drafts, each of the Walk-Ons locations with special packages available for you where you have your own private room, eat and drink specials for your fantasy football drafts, some little perks for the commissioners as well. So this location of Walk-Ons is certainly taking reservations for that. Also taking reservations for tailgate trays. Don't wait until the last minute with some of these things, especially for the home opener or the Florida game. Get your orders in early to make sure you got your tailgating trays ready for football season. And, of course, here in the facility, not a bad seat in the house. Nobody playing around here at Walk-Ons. You're going to be able to see all the games, get a cold beer, get a cocktail, get some great food at Walk-Ons, just less than a mile walk to Tiger Stadium. All right, hit the horn, man. Let's go out to Las Vegas. And
it's time. It's now Colucci time. Dwayne Colucci is back to give his best picks on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Colucci, how you doing this morning, man?
Doing good, Charlie. How about yourself?
We're doing good. I got to ask you because there have been some really big wrestling cards over the years in Vegas. You watch at all when Hulk Hogan? We got the news about an hour ago that he is passed at 71. Any professional wrestling in your youth?
Yeah, definitely, Charlie. Let me tell you something. When I had first moved here, I remember the first WrestleMania that was held at Caesar's Palace. And back in the day, I used to have a great connection. I used to hang out at PJ Floss, which is a very famous bar in Manhattan. And several of the wrestlers used to go there after the cards at MSG, the Felt Forum, what it was called back then was a subsidiary of MSG. They would have these huge WWF wrestling cards before it became the WWE. And we had great connections. I used to get great seats. Believe it or not, Bob Backlund's manager, Arnold Skolin, his son actually worked in the bar. So I was there the night that the Iron Sheik defeated Bob Backlund. And that was basically the introduction then of Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan them beat the Iron Sheik, and wrestling became off the hook. I remember, Charlie, I used to get ringside seats. Once Hogan started to get involved, I was up in the rafters of MSG. The popularity, the ticket demand, and getting back to the first WrestleMania that was held here at Caesar's Palace, the casino was so, it was so friendly, and it wasn't as crowded as you see the crowds nowadays. And I swear the night before, every single wrestler was on the casino floor. They were playing blackjack. Yokozuna, Mr. Fuji, Shawn Michaels, Hogan was roaming around. And, naturally, Hulk Hogan was not as accessible as the other wrestlers, but he revolutionized that sport. You've had so many great wrestlers from NWA, whether it was Ric Flair, Harley Race, like we said, going back to the days of Bruno Sammartino in the WWE, and, superstar Billy Graham. Then Bob Backlund had that reign 7 years. Hogan took over, and wrestling put on the basic entertainment face. It became totally mainstream. It was just unbelievable, and, Hulk had a ton to do with that. You saw recently at some of his outings, he was being booed and stuff. I think that was because of his political views. Certain, groups just can't maintain themselves. So despite what this man accomplished, they were booing. And it's a newer generation now. You got guys like Roman Reigns and all those guys. But, Hulk Hogan set the standard for Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. He was mainstream. And when you were in a Rocky movie, and he wasn't even that popular back then, it's just unbelievable. And that also brought notoriety to him, being in Rocky 3, and that put him even more over the top, to where Vince McMahon said, hey, I better get this guy under contract. This guy is going to be the face of wrestling for many years to come. And I've seen Hulk wrestle many times, whether it was in person or whether on pay-per-view. But, yeah, I had an extensive wrestling background. But it kind of, Charlie, it kind of like subsided when Hogan took over, just because of the fact that, I had the hooks with Bob Backlund and Arnold Skaaland and all that, and then the popularity of the WWE went off the hook.
So I remember Backlund, this was when we first got basically cable TV available in this area. USA had that wrestling, and I remember when the Sheik beat Bob Backlund, and it was to transition the title to Hogan because they didn't want a good guy to be the good guy, so they had to have a bad guy have the title in between. And the Sheik was the perfect villain because we were still maybe 4 or 5 years post the Iranian hostage. So the Iranian bad guy was an easy angle to take. But it occurs to me when you were talking about that Hogan never wrestled in Louisiana in the territory phase of the sport, but every one of those heels that they put up against him, not everyone, not Roddy Piper, but most of the rest of them, the Iron Sheik, the One Man Gang, Kamala, Ted DiBiase, all of these wrestlers, I don't want to say they got their initial starts in Louisiana, but all of them in the early part of their careers wrestled in Louisiana, and they wrestled under Bill Watts in Mid-South. And I can remember the Sheik going out there with the those big clubs that he used to wave in the air, and he was actually a bodyguard for the Ayatollah for the Shah. I can't remember.
He was the best. I'll be honest with you. He was
the best villain ever,
right? Character, right? Yeah. Exactly. And let me tell you something. Bob Backlund still has a set of those clubs because the Sheik gave them to him because he was the only guy that could do them, other than the Iron Sheik. That club spin. There's a video of the Ultimate Warrior trying to do it, and he couldn't even get them around once. And you know how built and you know how his physique was.
Yeah, he was huge.
Yeah, the Iron Sheik was the greatest villain. And it's surprising, Hogan did a lot of work in Japan, but it's surprising that he wasn't down there with Watts for a little period. I know he had runs in the AWA and definitely Japan, but then it was predominantly WWE until he got, the NWO thing going. And, just Hogan revolutionized so many different sports, aspects of the sport. And like you said, the villains were just incredible. But One Man Gang, it's funny you brought him up. So many different guys, but the Sheik was the best. He was the best character that I've ever encountered, basically, in wrestling. I mean, it was just, and off the scenes when he was able to cuss and, use his language, say on the Howard Stern show, whatever. It was hilarious, Charlie.
I watched the documentary on him. He passed away within the year. I don't remember his real name, but the documentary came on maybe a month before he died, and he was the ultimate villain. Most of the wrestlers, even Hogan, they spent some time on the good side. They spent some time on the bad side. The Iron Sheik was never a good guy. Never. he was one of the guys. He's on one side of the one side of the aisle the entire time he was in there. I can say this with a great deal of confidence. I could never prove it. Anybody who's ever stepped into a wrestling ring in the last 50 years, made more money because this guy was in the business. Everybody that's got a golf club, everybody that's got a golf club in their hand right now is making more money than they would have made if Tiger Woods had decided to be a scientist or a politician or something other than a golfer. Everybody in the WNBA, when they sign this contract, is going to make more money because Caitlin Clark is in that league. And everybody that wrestled, everybody made more money because this guy was in the sport. So I didn't plan on speaking about wrestling a lot today, but the guy died. They announced his death about 10 minutes before we got on the air. So you never know where the show may take you. It helps to be well-rounded, Kaluch, where you can talk a little bit about this stuff. I can talk about old-time wrestling maybe more than I should be able to, but kind of grew up with that as a favorite pastime. Tell me what else. We move on a little bit. We're just about getting into preseason football. We're a week away from that. All the NFL teams are in camp now. What kind of action are you seeing on any futures, totals, anything catch your attention as we get ready and the colleges will be in camp next week?
Yeah. Actually, we took a nice sizable bet. It's funny that you said that on the Vikings. Under 9.5. That was some action earlier in the week. And we had that total at 9.5 minus 110 on the Vigorish, and we had a substantial bet on that on the under. We're seeing a lot of different, win total wagers, week one wagers, but you have to be leery. I mean, just today, Justin Fields started off the field already for the Jets, so the Jets are already bad enough, and now I just got a report that Fields was carted off in practice today. So you have to keep your eye on all these different scenarios. Definitely the Cowboys under have been a focal point at several of the properties around town, including mine. We get some good handle on Buffalo, Pittsburgh. Buffalo is a huge favorite to win that AFC East. And, the AFC is very difficult. We're getting some good spread money to win that conference overall. Just some tremendous action. Everybody seems to have an opinion, whether it's Buffalo, whether it's Baltimore. Naturally the Chiefs are still taking action. People feel that Denver could improve. The Chargers are right there. You have Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. How are they going to bounce back? The defensive questions there are all that really, need to be rectified because the offense is pretty solid on the Cincinnati side. On the NFC side, naturally the usual suspects. You're getting action on Washington and definitely the Eagles. They seem to be the two premier teams. Detroit seems to be a little mental. We'll see if they can bounce back, as well as San Francisco. But, the landscape is pretty spread out. We're not getting pounded and plied with just one particular team, whereas, in years past, Chiefs were very, very popular at the market. But now it's changed a little. People are feeling that they could finally be downsliding on the end of their run, and people are taking their shots, Charlie. So, definitely we're seeing a lot of action. We got the college week 1 up. We got the college week 0 up as well, which starts there, I believe, the 23rd. So, the handle has been exceptional for football. After a while, people start to get tired with baseball when you're seeing the same repetition. Looks like a lot of these divisional winners are set. And if not, basically it's a 2-game race if it's Toronto and the Yankees, Philly and the Mets, and so forth. But you do have teams like Detroit, the Dodgers, Houston, where you kind of feel very confident that these teams are going to represent their divisions or in the wild card. So baseball starts to get a little, people rein it in a bit. I see a lot more horse racing action as well now with Del Mar and Saratoga running simultaneously. But football is always very, very popular in the market, and we're keeping our eye on everything. Chris does a great job at the South Point, and the affiliation of Rampart and South Point, I can't speak enough. But, yeah, that substantial wager was on the Vikings under. It's understandable with McCarthy starting there, Charlie, but, that division's wide open. Detroit is not a shoo-in. Green Bay has a lot of questions, and the Bears are the Bears. So moving forward, we'll see how that division plays out, as well as the NFC conference.
I think it's a calculated gamble to go against Minnesota. They won 14 games last year. Okay, that sounds wonderful, but let's look at three things. Number one, 8 of those wins were by 6 points or less. These were one-score games. The second thing is they finished the season horribly. They went into that last regular season game with Detroit with the difference between the 1 seed and the 5 seed, and they got blasted, and then they got beat in the playoffs, so they ended on a bad note. And then the third thing, of course, is McCarthy. Maybe he'll be really good, Kaluch. I don't know, but a first-year starting quarterback, even with a good nucleus around him and some real weapons, is going to have some growing pains. So I didn't send that guy with the wager to the South Point, but I would endorse it. Yeah, I think so. I'll take a little piece.
But I'll tell you, I think the NFC is a little down, Charlie. So you could get some wins. The whole key is their division. You see, you could kind of set in your mind that Dallas is going to get 4 losses against Philadelphia and the Commanders. You're not so sure when Minnesota matches up against the Bears, Green Bay, and Detroit. So the remaining schedule, it's according to difficulty of schedule, but the division, they could definitely split with those teams. And, can Jefferson make McCarthy look good? That's the whole key. And also, how will those other teams respond? Because, you have a second-year quarterback in Chicago. We'll see how Love is in Green Bay. That's hit and miss at times. And definitely Detroit, they have defensive liabilities and problems. Their coaching got gutted. So we're going to see how that plays out. I could endorse it, but teams like San Francisco really have to bounce back. Can Tampa Bay maintain? And, you still have the Commanders and the Eagles that are at the top right there. But I can't see any other teams, maybe the Rams, breaking out. But if, they have some injuries, Nakua or so forth, they could definitely drop down on the chart. So it's an interesting wager, not the wager I would make. I think there's some others out there that are way more appealing.
Here's one more interesting note on the Vikings, and then we'll move on. They open at Chicago on Monday Night Football. They don't play another true road game until October the 23rd. Now, they've got that 2-week stretch where they go to Europe, and they play those games with Pittsburgh and Cleveland, but they don't play another true road game until October the 23rd. Do with that what you will. It's still, the quarterback is still in place, but he's not going to have to face, after they go to Soldier Field in the opener, he's not going to have to face a true road crowd again for another 6 weeks.
The one thing I would say about the one-score games, Charlie, this is a bit of a trend now for Kevin O'Connell. He's 26-9 in one-score games since he's been with the Vikings. That's the second best winning percentage of all time.
That should be a little closer. That should regress to the mean a little bit.
It's been a few seasons now, so it is a trend, but...
All right, Kaluch, what we got horse racing wise? We got Del Mar and Saratoga running. What we got? What you like?
Yeah, definitely. We got a few nice horses running out there today. Definitely, Saratoga has been so difficult. I got to tell you guys. I mean, it's been an enigma the whole time. Del Mar, they started with some chalk, then some prices. So it's been very, very difficult. We didn't do too well last week. We're going to take a shot in the 5th race. Turf race at Saratoga, the 5-horse, 10-cent pound, Richard Dutrow, Jose Ortiz. This horse is a first-time gelding, and since he's been gelded, if you look at the workout tab, the last workout of 47-1 breezing is just a monstrous work. Maybe the ultimate equipment change could make a difference. Jose Ortiz is hitting at 25%. Dutrow's been a little cold to start off yesterday. I believe he was 0 for 2 with his starters, so, 1 for 12. He's an ultimate trainer and definitely will be looking to win this race. He's got to get back on a winning streak. So we're going to take a shot with a 10-1 morning line at Saratoga in the 5th race, number 5, 10-cent pound. I think he has an exceptional chance here.
Well, if he's in a good mood first time gelding, there's a bad joke to be made here. I'm not going to go there. That anything you like at Del Mar?
Yeah, we got to give Jimmy Ott a little something. Even though he had that name winner that he gave out there last week, that horse actually did get home. Let's go with the 6th race, number 7, Case Hit. Umberto Rispoli, we know who he is. He's the world-famous jockey of journalism. Peter Miller has just been – everything has been firing from the Peter Miller barn in the first week. He had 12 starters, 3 wins, 2/3. That's 5 in the money horses out of 12 starters. This horse looks like a monster. He's got great workouts. He's getting first-time LASIK. Like I said, Miller's been on fire. Rispoli is the golden boy. Definitely a great, great turf rider. This horse is first time on the turf, but it's only 5 furlongs, and he's got 2 monstrous wins. Keep in mind, though, he hasn't been out in a year. So this horse is coming off a tremendous layoff, but if you look at these workouts, Peter Miller's going to have him ready. You get Rispoli in the saddle, look for him on the lead early in that race at Del Mar.
All right, we got the 5 horse in the 5th at Saratoga, the 7 horse in the 6th at Del Mar. Colucci, you're the best, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. We'll be, I think, the Hall of Fame game next Thursday, or next Thursday or Friday. So we'll have at least live football when we talk to you next week.
And live from Del Mar, because I'll be in Del Mar, so I'll be joining you guys live from Del Mar.
We'll see if Jimmy I can cash a ticket between now and next Thursday. Colucci, you the best, man.
He's taking pictures with cougars there, Charlie. So he's doing
I know,
all right.
I know. I've seen him. Thanks a lot, my friend. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. Dwayne Colucci, from the South Point and the Rampart. We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Listen, as you're getting ready for tailgating, you're starting to think about what you're going to do for tailgating. Think about Supreme Rice. Those jambalayas go great. Those gumbos later in the season. Maybe your stews. Anything that you're going to make for white beans or red beans, anything for a tailgate, make it with Supreme Rice. Support our Louisiana farmers down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. Supreme Rice, always the best. You're going to save some money, and they're part of the Climate Smart program. They're going to reduce methane emissions and promote water conservation for future generations of Louisiana farmers. Pick it up at all your AG food stores, your Rouses, your Walmarts, Parball, the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, the jasmine rice, whatever your preference is, make it with Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, go to the website, SupremeRice.com. We'll take a break back here at the original Walk-Ons, Burbank at Nicholson. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Oh, don't forget our friends over here, Workbox and Workbox Services, my buddy Martin Padial, and expanding. That's right, their newest location at Workbox. And the second office, which extends our coverage all the way down to the Gulf Coast, through New Orleans and Baton Rouge, all the way to Lake Charles. Of course, shipping containers of all sizes, you name it, for residential or commercial use as well. 8x8, 8x10, 8x20, 8x40 feet, you name it. You want a tool storage container for your job site? No problem. Custom lunchroom? No problem. Customize it, part office, part storage, dual purpose? No problem. Custom safety storage near the plant? No problem. Our great staff, Martine Sr., Martine Jr., Hannah, Brandy, and Chris. Workbox and Workbox Services, 343-4886 and WorkboxLLC.com.
With Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
We return here at the original Walk-Ons. You can come on over here for happy hour. They got one of the best happy hours around here. Every one of the Walk-Ons got a little bit different, but the one here, Burbank and Nicholson, it's $3 pints Monday through Friday from 2 until 6 and from 9 p.m. till close. $3 pints, $5 22-ounce beers, $3 off of all your wine and signature cocktails. Happy hour pours, $5 singles, $7 doubles here for all your favorite brands. And it's $5 for the waffle cheese fries, the bone-in wings, the boom boom shrimp, the cheeseburger sliders. That's all here at the original Walk-Ons Monday through Friday from 2 until 6 and 9 p.m. until close for their happy hour. News out of Saints camp today, just obviously day number 2, but Julian Blackmon is on the practice field today. He's in gear, and he is going at full speed. This is another, I think professional thing that Tyrann Mathieu did with his retirement. They didn't announce it until yesterday, but he told the Saints several days ago. So they had time to go make this negotiation, make this sign, and get Blackman into camp on the second day. So he did not catch the Saints. It made the announcement caught us by surprise, the timing of it, but he did right by the Saints. Max, what are the Colts, or what are the Saints getting here from the former Colts safety? He's only 26 years old.
Charlie, I got to be honest. When this signing was made, I was trying to look for the banana peels. What am I missing here? Because for him to be a free agent, they signed him for $5.5 million. It's not all that much. A young guy, probably the youngest best safety that's capable of starting. That's a free agent right now. Had 3 interceptions last year. I'm looking around. Pro Football Focus ranks him 48th of all the safeties. I mean, that's pretty good considering he's starter level. Good coverage grade. I mean, I'm looking for stuff from Colts fans or whatever, just hating on him or something. I know he tore his Achilles back in 2021, and maybe his speed's been affected a little bit. But, I mean, he's got 300 career tackles in 5 seasons. Young enough. He's been a starter for quite some time. I'm looking for the answers as to why this isn't a really good signing for them. I'm not saying he could be Honey Badger. He certainly can't replace his leadership, but it seems like a pretty good signing considering the circumstances.
No, when you say he was the 48th best safety, okay, that's not going to make me rush out to buy season tickets. But for the day before camp, that's
out of 171.
Yeah, that's not terrible. I think the concern on him was the injury. He played basically every game of last season with a torn labrum, if I'm remembering this correctly. So his production was a little bit off. But let's say he's healthy, and he is out. There's video online right now. He's out there. He is running. He's doing drills, so he's not limited in any way. And I do like the fact that he was able to play through it. Maybe not at the top of his game, but he was able to play through it. I've been beaten over the head so much with injuries for the Saints and the Pelicans that I'm actually really encouraged to see a guy that's got some kind of durability. There's other players out there that the Saints actually have some room on the cap. Okay, not because of the Mathieu retirement. It's a little bit, but that wasn't the main crux of this. It was what they did the rest of the offseason and then what Carr did. So there's actually some money if they want to bring in Keenan Allen, okay, if they wanted to bring in Asante Samuel. Well, I'm not saying, again, it's not going to make me rush.
You talked about injuries already. Come on.
Well,
Charlie.
Okay.
I mean,
if circumstances, okay, if you're starving, and somebody gives you a cracker, here's the thing. Would I go out and give big money to either one of those guys, long-term contracts? Absolutely not. But if I'm 2 weeks into camp and they're looking for a place to land, and I've got some money, and I don't have to commit it long term, this will get your team better. Okay, Keenan Allen is better than the fourth receiver that they got right now. I'm sorry, he just is. Asante Samuel is more proven, really, than any of those corners that they got right now. So, if you've got the money and it doesn't hamstring you long term. You're making your Jimmy face here.
Keenan Allen is a bad example to me. He's washed goods at this point. He came into camp last year overweight. He's going to expect to get the ball, even though you're signing him not to get the ball, I don't think. So I'm out on Keenan Allen.
I'm not promoting either one of these things. I'm just
saying
other
guys are available.
It's the first time that I can remember that the Saints have got money to spend if a veteran comes available. Now, unfortunately, it's not a real attractive position to a veteran because they're not seen as a contender, but you can add and you can get a little bit better. Samuel more than Allen, probably.
Sure. Blackman, 31 starts in his last 2 seasons, 7 picks, 12 passes deflected, 174 tackles. That's pretty good. I mean, I think this is a good signing, and shout out to Mathieu for giving them the heads up early on so they didn't kind of get busted in a situation where their leverage was kind of gone and where they were clearly in need of a safety. So, I mean, Mickey Loomis, is he cooking right now? I don't know. But, you got to give him a little credit where credit's due because I just think this is an adequate signing considering the circumstance. That's all.
It's an adequate signing considering the circumstance. build one block at a time. There's not a move that the Saints can make that is going to automatically, instantly make them a contender. I mean, they can't call Buffalo and trade for Josh Allen, okay? But piece by piece, okay? Here's a guy who, if it works out, might stick around after this. You gotta look for the little things, because there's nothing that's gonna happen. Tyler Shook goes out in the first preseason game, throws for 200 yards on 3 drives. We're not going to be convinced until we see it in the regular season. So just give me the small positives. That's what you're going to have to take, is the small positives if you're a Saints fan this year.
We were convinced after 2 weeks last year. I will say that. We bit the bullet hard.
No, you got me confused with the other guy that hosts his program. Oh. I didn't bet anything. Like you maniacs rushed to the window with your MVP tickets and your Super Bowl tickets and all that stuff. I was happy, but I didn't bet anything. Okay, so I think you got me confused.
Go back and listen to that. I don't know. I feel like you were somewhat on board there.
The Dallas win was off the charts as far as what I expected. I thought they would lose that game, and they win. They blew the doors off Dallas. It was fool's goal because Dallas ended up not being as good as we thought, and the Saints injuries started to pile up after that. But on that day, you had Derek Carr throwing bombs to Raheed Shaheed, and you had big play after big play from Alvin Kamara. Well, those things weren't available to him later in the season.
Dennis Allen citing Kendrick Lamar in the locker room after. I mean, it was the vibes were at an all-time high there.
The vibes were fine. I was encouraged. I was very surprised, but I did not go to the window the way you two did. Now, listen, you guys have run to the window before on things and cash big tickets where I was like, I'm gonna beg off, but I'm not. There's not going to be that this year. They go blow Arizona out in the opener. I'm still going to wait and see. I'm hopeful that the quarterback can be good. We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store and the Pierre Part Store. Tons of specials right now on grills and griddles, all the way from the smaller gas grills all the way up to the big green egg cooker. Right now, the Do It Best deal of the week is a Charbroil 36-inch propane gas griddle that is 20% off right now. If you're looking for patio furniture, the Outdoor Expressions brand has specials right now for your summer patio. You can get those right now at thetibodeaustore.com. Hand tools, power tools, fishing equipment, crawfish and jambalaya pots, custom-made cypress furniture. It's a huge store and lots of products that you can get on the website, again, at thetibodeaustore.com. Sister property, the Pierre Part Store, been in business for 113 years, celebrated that anniversary last fall. They know what they're doing. If you need lumber delivered, you can do it out of that property. Open until 5:30 daily at 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, and online it's thetibodeaustore.com. Live at the original Walk-Ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget about friends over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace, and then Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine. The Go Automotive Group, my buddy Lee Carney and the great team over there. Man, the Silverado trucks, the Colorado trucks are outstanding. How about the SUVs? Ultra popular Tahoes and Suburbans. I got the Trailblazers, the Blazers, the Traverse Equinoxes as well. Some of our cars like the Corvette, Camaro, and Malibu. We've got electric vehicles as well. Take the short drive over to Laplace like I did, and I don't just talk about the vehicles from Go Chevrolet. I drive a Chevy Tahoe that I got from Lee Carney over at Go Chevrolet. My buddy Lee, go check him out over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here at the original Walk-Ons live at lunch. Again, give them a call for your fantasy football drafts coming up in the month of August. Get your specialty packages and your rooms reserved for your fantasy football drafts at every Walk-Ons location. They've got different deals available, and you got a private room here that you can have your draft. This is the part of the season we get into camp where everybody, when you're watching, I don't know, do you do this, Max, whenever there's this on the ticker, it says breaking news, in the month of August.
Heart drops.
Yeah, you just don't be my team. Don't be my team. And when the colleges get there next week, especially, it's don't be my guy. Don't be one of my. I don't want to say. I want every practice report from LSU and the Saints to start with, well, it was a pretty routine day here at practice. It was a pretty quiet day here at practice. No news
you have
is good
those
news.
Notifications on like your ESPN app, and you hear you hear the notification sound, you're like, okay, like you're more dreading it at this point. You're not hopeful for something. You're dreading what news could be, because there's only bad news that can really come from this, right? You're not going to hear something revolutionary that is going to change your mind unless you hear like. Yeah. A starting job has been defined or something.
At Browns practice today, Shedeur Sanders looks like Patrick Mahomes. Who cares? It's one day of practice.
Not going to matter.
But if somebody gets hurt. So we got an update on Justin Fields, who was stepped on in the practice this morning. They're calling it a dislocated toe, and they believe that he will be ready for week 1. Now, I don't know how much practice he's going to miss. They got some tests that they're doing with that, but if he misses a lot of this is the acclimation time for new quarterbacks. That's a tough thing. Tyrod Taylor is their backup, so they've got a veteran backup can go in there and keep things straight. But this is that developmental time with a new quarterback that I don't know what you're expecting out of Justin Fields. I'm not expecting a huge year.
It's his last chance, and this is a tough blow for him.
If you've been a starter at 3 different places and all of them passed on keeping you long term, yeah, I would agree with that. And so this is a really tough injury for them to miss a lot of developmental time if he was going to be any good. I don't know.
I don't know what your expectations of the Jets are. Personally, mine aren't happy. I mean, Mike Greenberg this morning acted like the sky was falling, like the Jets were going to be great, and
the Jets are used to that.
I will say, yeah, exactly. They should be used to this by now. Initially, I don't see. It did look bad initially, the way they talked about it. You hear Carter off the field, you hear leg injury, you start thinking about non-contact stuff. Apparently this was not the case, but I don't expect much from the Jets. I just, this is the question this season for the Jets, I think, is Justin Fields your quarterback for the next year? I think that's all the Jets are going to answer. It's a similar case to what the Saints have to answer, Are you in a position where there are a lot of players on this team that you're going to move forward with, specifically at quarterback?
Justin Fields, the Saints situation, the Browns, they got to come out of this season. Hey, do we have anything on the roster? Because you could honestly make the case that next year when the Browns start camp, none of these 4 guys are guaranteed to be there.
No doubt, and I think there's a difference here in that I think they're going to probably start one of the veterans, either Pickett or Flacco. I don't expect we'll see Gabriel or Shedeur start at least the first 4 weeks of the season or so. They've been working with the backups anyway, so you've seen the veterans start there. So it'll take them some time before I think they move on, at some point to what could be their future. I kind of feel like the Saints have the higher ceiling this year than the Browns just because of that situation. They're rolling out the veterans to begin with. Like, they're telling you, we just need to have our young guys, I guess, compete for a little while, but they're not even getting starting reps right now. So I guess they're going to wing it with a Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, but I don't see them winning. I think they're kind of set in terms of they're going to win 5 or 6 games at most, and they're kind of stuck there. Maybe just heroically, what the Saints are feeling, the veterans think that they might have a good team. Maybe you actually have a quarterback. It seems unlikely, but at least there's a higher ceiling, I think, with the Saints' path.
Browns are going to cut one of those guys, right? They're not going to keep 3 quarterbacks and put another one on the practice squad, or put 2 quarterbacks on the practice squad.
I would have to think so. And you're going to have quarterback needy teams, right? If the Jets per se, like, what if Justin Fields was out long term? They would have tried to make a move for a Kirk Cousins, or you could have seen them make a move for a Browns quarterback. I think there's been a lot of speculation about what the Titans are going to do. Cam Ward's kind of by himself right now. Will Levis is out for the season, so there will be quarterback needy teams. I could see them trying to trade one of Kenny Pickett or somebody for a 6th-round pick or something. But, yeah, they can't keep all 4 guys the whole season.
Joe Flacco would make sense if a team with playoff aspirations lost a starter in camp for, say, a month. Somebody gets a high ankle sprain the last week of practice. They're going to miss September. I think about a team like, let's say it happened to the Texans, okay? That's a team with playoff aspirations. Sure. You say, well, I want Joe Flacco to come over here. He's got to play 4 to 6 games that he can get me to 2-2 or 3-3. If the Texans is a good example to me. If something happened, God forbid, to Joe Burrow, they wouldn't trade him in within the division. That's a bad example. The Lions, if Jared Goff was going to miss a month, that's certainly a team with playoff aspirations. And anybody that thinks realistically that they got a chance and got a quarterback hurt late in camp, Flacco would make sense. To me, Pickett has no trade value. You don't know that Kenny Pickett can go 3-3 in 6 starts any more than you do most of these quarterbacks that haven't played very much. So I would say Flacco would be the guy. Like, yeah, I can get 4 to 6 games out of the old guy, and he can keep me afloat until I get my guy. The Rams
would be another. Stafford's got some back problems right now.
Those type of teams, I think he would work for. I don't think anybody would trade for any of those guys with anything more than that. So we'll watch and hope that whenever
no news is good news.
No news is good news. It's kind of my MO through training camp every year. We're brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners in retirement. When you get to retirement, you have to have made a plan. There's no two situations alike, so no matter where you are in life, what your age or your financial situation, maximize your plans with Coastal Capital Advisors. Listen, they sat down with me. We went through a lot of different things, a lot of information that they'll get, and they'll map out a plan. They'll work with your business partners. They'll work with your legal team. They'll make a plan that works for you. You're going to be comfortable with you because they want to build a lifetime relationship. That's what they've done with me. So for more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his staff, 337-981-1376. Online, it's coastalcapitaladv.com. Line yourself up for retirement. The sooner that you are able to make these plans, the better that plan can be for you and your family. Advisory services for Coastal Capital Advisors provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA SIPC. Back to wrap it up here at the original Walk-Ons, Burbank and Nicholson, live at Lunch 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sports world kind of buzzing around about the passing of Hulk Hogan, which happened, was announced right before we started the show today. I'm reminded that he had a huge hand also in taking down Gawker, the website, with that lawsuit that he filed. That not a lot of people gave him a chance to actually win the way that he did. It's a very long and complicated case, but something else that he did in addition to all the wrestling stuff and all of the media stuff, and Colucci was right. He got a little bit more political in just the last couple of years. With the thing with the Republican convention and talking for Trump. So that, look, you get into politics, half the people are going to hate you anyway. But that career, I just was kind of scrolling through X on the break, and some of the old pictures, some of the old wrestling stuff that he was involved with at the beginning of his career when he was in Minnesota. He came up with WWE. There's a lot of layers to that Hulk Hogan thing, and man, again this week. Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan, Malcolm Jamal Warner. I mean, these cult icons of the 80s that were still very relevant. Osbourne did his last show just a couple of weeks ago. Malcolm Jamal Warner was still acting, the youngest of the three by far. Was still acting and doing a lot of things. And Hogan, you didn't have to look far to find Hogan. He was going to be somewhere. Might not have been your particular brand of vodka wherever he was, but he was going to be somewhere. And, again, the details coming out on this, the police responded to a call for a cardiac arrest, and he was pronounced dead at the hospital in Clearwater, Florida. at the age of 71. All right, here at Walk-Ons, again, fantasy football drafts. You can get your own private room with eat and drink specials for you during your draft. Call to reserve those now. Also call to reserve your tailgating trays in the month of September. Look, don't wait until the last minute to where you're not going to be able to get exactly what you want. Get those orders in early, especially for LSU's home opener against Louisiana Tech and their SEC opener against Florida. And great happy hour specials right here with $3 pints from 2 till 6 and from 9 until close here from Monday through Friday at the original Walk-Ons. Tomorrow we will be at Rufino's on Highland Road. Hope you can make it in your plans to stop by and see us then. For Max Jordan back in the studio, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.